We have the full set now for Shadows Over Innistrad Remastered, and so I'm going to go through over the next few days, colour by colour. I'm going to go through every card, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the kind of non-playable stuff. We're going to focus on what is playable. I'm going to go through kind of line by line through the card image gallery, starting things off with Always Watching, a card that's not really seen a ton of play in Pioneer. However, it is a kind of nice little Anthem effect. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1 and Vigilance. One of the use cases you used to have for Always Watching was given Dragonlord Ogre-type Vigilance, so it keeps hold of that hexproof ability. Dragonlord Ogre-type, not on Arena yet, unfortunately, but at some point in the future we could see that happen. It is a little bit slow and a little clunky for Explorer Pioneer type power level gameplay, but there's still some potential there. If you're looking for an Anthem effect, we do have other things available, and so I don't expect Always Watching to have a huge impact on the format. The other two cards here, Angelic Purge and Apothecary Geist, not going to have a huge impact, both a bit too slow. Angelic Purge did see some standard play, it gives you a removal spell, but no, not today. Alright, next up, Blessed Alliance, another card that's quite interesting. Saw some play in modern blue-white control decks back in the day. 1 white instant with Escalate, so you can pay 2 mana to pick more modes. Target player gains 4 life, okay, neat, but better when stapled to other abilities. Untap with 2 target creatures, or target opponent sacrifice a creature. The nice thing here is that you can get the kind of removal spell effect, and then also later on in the game you can gain that 4 life back as well, which is really, really nice versus some aggro decks like Mono Red and that kind of thing. We do have a lot of good white removal spells that keep printing better ones for some reason, but hey, it's the kind of card that could come up from time to time. Both Borrowed Grace, Bound by Moon Silver, nowhere near playable unfortunately, so we'll carry on down the list. Bygone Bishop, 3 mana Spirit Cleric. Spirit is a relevant creature type, some of which we'll get to later on in the white cards and then also later on in the set. Obviously more spirits to come. 3 mana 2/3 fly. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 3 or less, investigate. Gives you card advantage when you're casting creatures, obviously investigate making clues. We do have some other options. If you're outside of spirits, when you're not playing a deck where spirits matters, you can obviously play the Welcoming Vampire that draws a card when you have a creature with power 2 or less into the battlefield once a turn. Is a better option, but for something like Spirits where you want to have a sideboard card that give you kind of some kind of grind value, get you some card advantage over the course of the game, Bygone Bishop, fairly reasonable, so I could see some play there. Collective Effort, does crop up from time to time, it is quite versatile, obviously modal cards, 1 white, Escalate, tap and untap creature you control, and then you get to choose 1 or more. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, okay, conditional removal spell. Destroy target enchantment, okay, another kind of useful ability, but then +1/+1 on each creature target player controls. Not normally, obviously, targeting yourself, but that being able to Anthem and then also, if necessary, do one of the other modes makes it so it does occasionally see you play. Courageous Outrider, a cool effect, but too expensive, really, for Explorer here. Nice card for Brawl, I guess. Alright, next up we've got Dauntless Cathar and Dawngrif. Again, too slow, not do anything, not playable, but Declaration in the Stone is obviously a huge card for the format. 1 and a white, exile target creature and all creatures its controls with the same name as that creature, and then they investigate for each non-token creature exiled this way. Is a card that does see play a decent amount in Pioneer, out of mono-white humans specifically, just because it's a nice way to answer either tokens, because, hey, they don't even get clues from the tokens, or dealing with like problematic creatures. It's just a clean answer, and a lot of the time if you're playing an aggro deck, obviously, they're not going to have time to sacrifice and draw a card off the clue anyway. Carrying on, Descent upon the Finfall was one of the first cards we actually saw. Is a cool Wrath, but at 6 mana is quite expensive. We have things like Farewell, which is just such a powerful card because it also hits graveyards and also can hit artifacts and enchantments if necessary. It kind of does everything. Devilthorn Thox, Drugskull Shieldmate, not really up to much. Faith Unbroken, Faithbearer Paladin, and Viewbinder, again, too slow, not really up to much. Again, there's a lot of cards in the set, and they have to kind of fill it out. Moving on down the line, Griff's Boon, a card that's been missing from the kind of Selesnya Aurus decks in the format. Did also see at one point some play in mono white, but obviously with like Brave the Elements, not really necessary there anymore. But 1 mana, enchantment aura, enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and flying, and then you can bring it back from the graveyard as well, which is, hey, kind of nice, but hey. Evasion is super important, and it does also buff your creatures, so it's a nice like 1 or 2 out of the auras deck that you can go and grab with Light Paws. The other 2 cards here, Guardian of Pilgrims and Hope Against Hope, not really up to much on Arena. Similarly here, Humble the Brute, Ironclad Slayer, Luminarch Mantle, not really up to much. And then we have Nearhearth Chaplain, again, too slow. Oddly, the Marshal's an interesting one that maybe does crop up like as a 1 of somewhere. At the beginning of each combat, creature you control gain first strike until end of turn if a creature you control has first strike, and then the same for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. Unfortunately, it doesn't do toxic, but hey, being able to duplicate those abilities across your creatures is actually quite useful, but unlikely to really make an impact. Again, Puncturing Light is like a reasonably priced removal spell. We just have too many good options, really. Next up, and this is probably the most important line in the white cards here. Reaper of like Moonsilver isn't doing anything, but Selfless Spirit and Sagada's Aid are both really important cards. Selfless Spirit obviously is incredible in spirits alongside Spell Queller, which we'll get to when we go through the multicolored stuff. But that 1 white for a 2/1 flyer, sacrifice a creature control, get indestructible. It's great in spirits, but it's also great in any other deck where you're playing white and creatures. Whether it be something like Blue-White Flash, you can play it out the sideboard in something like Humans, because it protects you from Supreme Verdict, and that kind of thing. And then we have Sagada's Aid, which is obviously incredible in the Pioneer/Explorer Hammer deck. If you're interested in that, I've got some videos on what it looks like at the minute, but with Sagada's Aid, obviously, that hammer gains Flash, and then it lets it equip when it enters the battlefield for free, getting around that cost, which is super important. So Sagada's Aid's a huge pickup for the format, and yeah, amazing. Alright, and then carrying on down, Sigardian Priest, Spectral Shepherd, Steadfast Cathar. Okay, not really much going on here, I'm afraid. Strength of Arms, Subjugate Your Ranger, again, not really a ton going on here. However, Thalia, Heretic Cathar is a very important card for the format. 2 and a white. Legendary creature, Human Soldier, 3/2 first strike. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control into the battlefield tapped. Occasionally seen some play out of like green-white Star Company decks, but the primary home for Thalia is in Humans, alongside our other counterpart. And just being able to stop your opponent blocking, and then also versus decks like Fires, any control mid-range stuff, that non-basic lands your opponents control into the battlefield tapped ability is super key to slowing down what they're doing. And so Thalia is a nice pickup for those decks. The last line here, we have Thalia's Lances, Arabian Inspector, which we already have in the format, and then Topple Guys. So Thalia's Lances is an interesting one. 5 mana for a 4/4, normally you would rule this out. It does have first strike. However, when Thalia's Lances enters the battlefield, you can search your library for a legendary card. Any legendary card, could be a Planeswalker, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. Being able to tutor for a legendary card is actually super important, especially in the style of decks that Thalia's Lances can get played in. Like mono-white, or white-green Yorion. It lets you tutor for different bits and pieces. If you've got Yorions in your deck, it lets you tutor for that. It tutors for Elesh Norn. It tutors for Atraxa. Like, there's a lot of potential here with Thalia's Lances, and so it's a nice card to have in the format. Arabian Inspector obviously is already in Explorer Pioneer. Did see some play in Humans for a while. Has really been replaced at this point, but does occasionally crop up still in those aggro decks. Or alternatively, when you're playing decks with lots of blink effects, like, again, like variants of Mono-White Yorion, Arabian Inspector can crop up there from time to time. Or things like Flash as well. And then Topplegeist is a 1 mana, 1/1 spirit, which is cheap, and it has like a ability to tap your opponent's creatures, but just not really doing enough for the Pioneer or Explorer format. And that is all the white cards in Shadows Over Innistrad Remastered. I'll be back tomorrow with the blue ones. I'll be making a video for each of the different colours, along with then one video with all the multicolored artifacts, lands, and that kind of stuff. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I've got loads of constructed stuff ready to go for when the set actually drops. I've got a bunch of decks that I'm super excited to play, from Spirits to Hammer, which is probably the first deck I'm going to put together. But yeah, please do subscribe, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.